What are the sort of direct steps or the specific actions that a leader could take to move towards being a leader who makes the world better?
Let's focus on something really practical. And this is what we're going to talk about. This is the part of the research that we're doing and what we're talking about in that webinar I just mentioned, is that we've been looking at how do you get people to handle struggle better. And it's got to be practical. It's got to be memorable. It's got to have a dose response where, it's something people do on a regular basis. And the model we came up with, and we've been trying so many different ones, is what's a model you use when you're having a conversation with someone in struggle? And we came up with this model of heart, head, hands, hurrah, like the 4H model. So heart is, in that moment of struggle, how do I connect with that person on an emotional level? And how we do that is to name and validate their emotion. This is the key thing, because once someone's had their emotion named and validated, they feel safe, they feel less sort of emotional, so they can think clearer. But it's literally, Tim, I can see that you're struggling, and mate, and I can see that you're feeling overwhelmed, and I totally get it. And I think it's such a normal response right now. And, I'm feeling a similar way, or other people I talk to are feeling like that. It's totally fine that you feel that way. So that's the key thing. And this is what men really struggle with, because head is the cognitive, like what's going on for you. So head is much more, well, what are you struggling with the most? Or what is the thing that's overwhelming you right now? Or what is the outcome you want? But that has to come after heart. Because once you connect on a heart level, it's like, well, this person gets me, this person's not judging me. And the hands piece is, well, what can you do to address that? Or how could I help you? Or what are some tangible things you could do? And the problem, particularly with men, is we go head or hands. So someone comes home and says, I'm really struggling with this person. Oh, well, here's what you got to do about that. Rather than, far out, I totally get that.
Yep.
And that must be exhausting, or that must be tiring, or that must be hard. Or we go straight, a kid comes home and says, I got bullied at school. What'd you let them bully you for? You just punch them in the face. Rather than going, man, I was bullied at school. I know how much that hurts. Or that must be so hard for you. And the hurrah piece is basically the reflection when you see them implement that hand stuff. So, I've got so many examples in my head. So my eldest daughter had something happen at school and had a bit of a blow up with her friends that involved her teachers, and she was just all over the shop. And she came home and cried for hours. And rather than, what are you crying about? And here's what you're doing. I'm calling the school. I just sat with her and went, that sucks. That's hard. That's difficult. And I just talked to her about how she felt. And I really just went heart and head. What happened? What went on? This person said this. Oh man, that must have really, that must be upsetting. And I just sat with her. And then I didn't even do the hands bit. And she said to me, I'm not going to school tomorrow. And, I'm staying at home. And I said, that's a really normal response. I get why you don't want to go, but you got to go to school, and it's not going to be nearly as bad. And then the hurrah piece was the next afternoon, I just pulled her aside and said, this morning, you're a class act. You were just amazing. You were so brave. You took it in your stride. And we had this 30-minute conversation about how she did it, how she managed herself. That's very different to, I will just go make new friends, which is what most people say. They're a terrible person. Stop hanging out with them. Go make new friends. And, it's a different conversation. And when you do that sort of heart piece, you start to open them up. They don't feel judged. They feel heard. They feel and also telling them that it's okay to feel that way opens them up to new perspectives and ideas. So one of the things we're focusing on is how do we get fathers to have that response rather than we'll just punch the bully in the head or stop hanging out with that kid, or like even if you indulge one more story, I shared this with a mate of mine, and his wife was a Qantas air hostie, and she lost a job, and she was going for all these jobs. She wasn't getting any. And it was the night before she was having this big interview, and she wanted the job bad. And she comes in and goes, I just can't even think straight. I'm so nervous. I'm so panicked. And he said, I'd normally go, well, here's what you got to do in the interview, and tell her what to do. And he said, I thought of your model, and I just said, like, I understand why you're nervous. And far out, it's so hard right now. And I sat down. I said, what are you worried about? What are you thinking? And he said she did the hands piece, and she went, after she felt better, she said, I think I should say this, or I think I should do this. Anyway, she gets the job, and he goes, the hurrah piece was I just sat down over a bottle of wine, and we just went, tell me about the interview. What happened? What was your best question, Ma? And he said, I just, I thought you were so resilient. You were so this. He said, very different interaction than, well, here's what you should say.